UFC 309, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic ended a little while ago, and this is going to be my full UFC 309 post-fight. We will discuss every single fight on the card, from Bo Nickel and Paul Craig, Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, and every other fight on the card, including the very first prelim. Let's jump right into it. We have, very first prelim, we have Veronica Hardy versus Eduarda Moura. Eduarda Moura wins via decision. This was a horrific fight. It's just horrible. I mean, Moura basically just landed the better, harder shots in the first round. I think maybe mixed in a little bit of grappling in the first round. Second round, took her down, controlled her for the majority of the round. And then third round was just boring. Honestly, I tuned it out. I don't know who won the third round. I'm assuming Moura did. I was watching but not paying attention. Hardy refused to engage and just bounced on the balls of her feet the entire fight. It drove me nuts. Cut her. I mean, this is the type of fights that give women's MMA a bad name. Hardy should be ashamed of herself. You know, everyone's like, oh, she dates, Dan Hardy. He's such a mastermind. Dude's like 60 years old. And, like, this was a garbage fight. I blame him for it. He's such a mastermind. Yeah, bounce on the balls of your feet and don't strike at all. She landed a couple body kicks throughout the fight. That's it. Garbage fight. Horrible performance. Shit the bed. Cut her from the organization. Don't want to ever see her again. Next fight on the card. Bassil Hafez versus Oban Elliott. Great performance from Oban Elliott. He went out there and got a third round KO. It was absolutely filthy. And he won the entire fight. I think one judge had Bassil Hafez up 2 rounds. And I think that one other judge had it 1-1, and then one judge had it correct. I don't know who in their right mind could score it for Bassil Hafez. First and second round weren't like crazy eventful, but it was essentially Oban Elliott calf kicking, body kicks, teeps. I think in the second round was a little bit closer than the first. Hafez landed like 1 or 2 decently hard punches, but Oban's clearly winning. Up 2 rounds, comes out in the third. Boom. Nasty right hook. Puts Bassil Hafez down. It's basically over that point. He lands one follow-up shot. He's out cold on the canvas. Referee doesn't jump in. He just smashes him with ground and pound. Puts him out again, and the referee finally jumps in. Oban Elliott, man. The real question is, how bad is JDM? I'm just trying to do MMA math in my head a bit, because Oban Elliott looked like a world... I don't want to say looked like a world beater. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but... looked pretty damn good against Hafez, and Hafez didn't look great against McGhee Gall, and Hafez arguably beat JDM. I know we can't elevate a guy off a loss. I thought Hafez won that fight. So maybe that was an aberration. JDM, back-to-back weight cuts, and he did take it on short notice as well. That's what I'm chalking it up to. Hafez wasn't aggressive. He was getting chopped at range. He was getting body kicked nonstop. He landed very little. And he got brutally chinned badly in the third round. Great win by Oban Elliott. Next fight on the card. Performance of the night. We have McGhee Gall versus Ramiz Brahimaj. Ramiz Brahimaj gets a first round KO. To be honest, McGhee Gall was looking good. Landing good right hands. Tagging Brahimaj. Brahimaj had a couple moments where there's like a clinch and he would land like some good short shots. But even in one of those clinch exchanges, McGhee Gall did well. And then out of nowhere, basically, midway through the round, or 2:55 into the first round, Brahimaj lands a nasty right hand that just folds McGhee Gall. He just falls. He falls video game style. That's the only way I can describe, like a sack of potatoes, man. And Brahimaj followed up with a few shots, and that was it. That was it. That was all she wrote. The right hook, it was over. It was after the right. He literally folded in half. I don't want to say he folded him like a lawn chair, because that's not the way I imagine. When I say folded like a lawn chair, I imagine like the legs behind you. But man, if I was running short for chairs during the 4th of July BBQ, I'd invite McGhee Gall from UFC 309 over. Brahimaj gets it done. I don't think he looked particularly great, even though he did get a first round KO. He was getting tagged by McGhee Gall on the feet. And now McGhee Gall's on a 4-fight losing streak. He's 7-7. He was brought in to be a layup win for CM Punk, which never worked out. He's probably gone now. He's probably gone. So, Brahimaj gets it done. First round KO. Good performance. Gets his first win in the UFC, I believe. Next fight on the card. We have... oh, this is a controversial one, boys. We have Marcin Tybura versus Diniz. Marcin Tybura gets a second round doctor stoppage, if that's what you want to call it. It gets stopped in between the second and third round. Diniz is man, I want to go off right now. I want to go off bad. I might end up getting demonetized if I start going. Look, Diniz is a bum. He hurt Tybura early. Literally could have finished him, but instead he went down into his guard and just stayed there. Didn't throw a single follow-up shot. Literally lay there for like 45 seconds, a minute. Eventually they end up in some leg entanglement and Diniz just falls on his ass. And then Tybura just ends up in full mount doing absolutely nothing. So, I mean, honestly, Diniz could still win the first round if we're being real here. Second round, Tybura took him down midway through the second round. Maybe a little bit more than midway through the round. And the way it looked to me, the takedown that Tybura got, it looked like Tybura found somebody in a wheelchair. Their legs don't work. Nothing works from the waist down. And if you pick someone up out of a wheelchair who nothing from the waist down works, and you spine busted them onto the mat, that's what the takedown looked for Tybura against Diniz in the second round. Diniz has no takedown defense at all. That's literally what it looked like. You pick somebody up who's a paraplegic, or technically it's not a paraplegic, I don't think, because I think they have no motion in any limbs. But you pick up someone who's paralyzed from the waist down and you spine buster them. That's the equivalent of Diniz's takedown defense. He ends up in full mount doing nothing again. And in the last 20 seconds, he decides, you know what? I'm going to elbow the hell out of this dude. Starts elbowing him, bust him up. Lands like 5 or 6 really good elbows. But like the last 5 seconds, it could have been stopped. It kind of looked really, really bad. Last 5 seconds, none of the real shots really landed in the last 5 seconds. It was really like from like the 20 to 10 second time period that really he landed good. And Herb Dean doesn't stop it. Could have been stopped, was not stopped. He starts... First off, Tybura doesn't move because he emptied the tank. So Tybura hangs out on him and the ref doesn't even tell him to get the fuck up. Diniz starts to roll over immediately without being touched and starts to get up. His corner's already there because Tybura sat there the entire time. Corner kind of grabs his gloves and helps him over to the corner. Now, when he gets up, he goes like this, but it's because he had blood in his eye. I'm 100% convinced that Diniz was not even hurt. I think he got hurt in that exchange, but I think he was pretty clear-minded when he got up. I didn't see him really wobbling. He was just had blood in his eye and a little bit disoriented. He goes to the corner. He sits down on his stool. They start wiping him up and working on the cuts. I kid you not, he looked perfectly fine. Now, I say perfectly fine. What I mean is there didn't appear to be a reason to stop the fight. It's not like he was like, it's not like he had no idea where he was. The doctor looks at him and just stops the fight, basically. Makes him walk a little bit and says, he had wobbly legs. Apparently, that's what we were told on the broadcast. Made absolutely no sense. And the reason it pisses me off is Tybura was completely gassed at the end of the second. I would have loved to have seen that third. Even though it's 2 horrible heavyweights, straight up bums, garbage cans, I would have liked to have seen the third. And people were praising this stop. Great stoppage by the doctor. For what? So if you get rocked in a round and you make it to the end, then we're just going to stop the fight now? Because you might be wobbly? So why aren't we stopping every fight every time someone gets wobbled in a round? Made absolutely no sense. Commentary team was sucking them off. A lot of people online was sucking them off. Horrible doctor stoppage. The New York City Athletic Commission has no idea what they're doing. Tybura probably wins anyway, but I don't know. He emptied the tank at the end of that second round. And how crazy is it that there's this many bums at heavyweight? If I ever see Diniz walking down the street, I'm taking his wallet. I'm taking his car keys. I'm just straight up mugging him. Because he has no takedown defense, I could easily out-grapple. At this point, I want my shot in the heavyweight division. I want my shot in the heavyweight division. That's how bad Diniz looked. Okay? Next fight on the card. David Onama, Roberto Romero. They should have stopped this fight in between rounds as well. David Onama gets a unanimous decision win. I think they even scored it for him 30-27. At least one judge did. I remember that. First round, Romero looked good, super aggressive, landing good shots, marching forward. He rocks David Onama early. Or not early, in the first round. I think it was like midway. And then goes for a rear naked choke that Onama survives, gets back up. It's competitive on the feet. Onama drops him with a flurry at the end of the first round. So realistically, you could give the first round either way. I thought Romero won the majority of the round, plus he hurt him. So if you kind of have both of them rocking each other, canceling each other out, I give the first round to Romero. Second round, Onama's just landing big shots, ripping to the body, even knocked him down, but he might have been a little bit off balance. Got on top, landed some ground and pound. Onama clearly won the second round. Third round, very competitive, but Onama's winning, landing better shots, got a takedown, had full mount for a little bit, landed a little bit ground and pound. I thought Onama clearly won the third round. Clearly won the third round. He was lucky to survive early, man. He was hurt bad in that first round, but he was able to survive. And Romero, for a short notice guy, short notice debutant, I thought he looked pretty good, man. I thought he looked pretty good. He was aggressive. He had really good kicks. He had good power. He was not backing down. I mean, he was eating big body shots in that second round. Onama was ripping to the body, ripping upstairs. You were hearing the gloves impacting. I mean, I thought there was going to be a KO in this fight. And everyone was going to be like, it's the gloves, it's the gloves. I mean, he was smacking him up in that second round. But ultimately, Onama's experience and skill level paid off in that second and third round, and he gets it done via unanimous decision. Good debut for Romero. I don't want to elevate him off a loss, but a decent performance on short notice. We'll have to see where he goes from here. But Onama gets it done. Next fight on the card, Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson retires. He deserves to retire. He loses via first-round guillotine to Jim Miller. He was landing some good shots. He shot on one takedown, got stuffed, shot on a second takedown, and got guillotined immediately. That's essentially what happened. Jim Miller needs to retire too. He looks old and slow. Damon Jackson isn't particularly good. I thought Damon would win this fight. I thought my pick was looking good early. Damon was landing some good shots, man. He was out striking him, but then boom, he shoots right into a guillotine. And then doesn't even like as he ends up in the guillotine, he realizes like where the arm placement is. He doesn't even try to like defend getting pulled into guard. He just gets pulled into guard, doesn't try to move to half guard or like as Jim Miller pulls guard. You know how some guys, they immediately react and they're like going into half guard so they can't finish the choke. Jim Miller had it tight. It was over. The second Damon Jackson shot that takedown. He retires afterwards. Apparently they offered him an interview. He turned it down. He left his gloves in the cage. If you're losing to Jim Miller, who's like 75 years old, you probably shouldn't be in the UFC. So good decision by Damon Jackson. I thought he might get this one done. He gets submitted in 2 minutes and 44 seconds into the first round. Next fight on the card, we have Chris Weidman versus Eryk Anders. This fight got canceled. This fight right here got canceled. I can't even click on it and expand it. 150% Chris Weidman's fault, okay? I don't know what happened, but 100% Chris Weidman's fault, okay? Eryk Anders may have pulled out with a medical issue. 100% Chris Weidman's fault. Just like it was Bruno Silva's fault that he got TKO'd from eye pokes. It was his fault that Chris Weidman brutally fingered him about 12 different times. So it was all Chris Weidman's fault. I am happy. I am elated Chris Weidman got his fight canceled. I hope he didn't get paid. This dude's a piece of shit for what he did to Bruno Silva. I'll never forget that. So that fight got canceled. Luckily, it's probably saved Chris Weidman from a brutal KO. Hopefully saved him from a paycheck as well. I hope someone poked him in the eyes on the way out of the arena when he was probably crying about it. Next fight on the card, the feature prelim. Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGhee. Marcus McGhee gets it done via unanimous decision. Great performance from Marcus McGhee. Lackluster from Jonathan Martinez. First and second round, Martinez wasn't throwing anything but a couple leg kicks here and there. McGee's landing good body shots upstairs. Sometimes he was hitting a lot of the guard, but he was clearly landing the better shots. He was light on that lead leg. He was checking some leg kicks. And McGhee just looked faster, more powerful. It looked like Martinez had seen a deer in the headlight. It was a deer in the headlights. And towards the end of the second round, Martinez started to come alive, land some decent shots, landed a really good, he turned his hips into it fully, landed a nasty leg kick. And apparently McGhee went back to his corner limping. Third round, Martinez starts throwing leg kicks and getting more aggressive. McGee's hurt bad, man, where it's looking like he's going to get finished. Jonathan Martinez clinches up and chills in the clinch and doesn't disengage for like 45 seconds when he literally has Marcus McGhee limping around with one leg. McGhee landed some right hands. I didn't think the third round was a 10-8 round. McGhee was landing, but man, was he a wounded animal. He said he was close to getting finished. He said he never felt leg kicks like Jonathan Martinez's leg kicks. So he really messed up not being active in the first two rounds. He really messed up clinching when you have a guy with one leg. It's like the guy when O'Malley hurt himself in I think it was Dana White's Contender Series. Dude just took him down afterwards. O'Malley literally couldn't walk. The fight was over. He took O'Malley down. This was the level of fight IQ from Jonathan Martinez. He should have been throwing leg kicks like his life depended on it. I just don't get it. So Marcus McGhee gets it done. I think Marcus McGee's a legit bantamweight. I've been saying that. It's now or never for him. He's in his mid-30s already. So, good win over a quality opponent in Jonathan Martinez with super low fight IQ. Maybe he'll learn from this, but now he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Marcus McGhee gets it done. Next fight on the card. The fight that opens up the main card. Mauricio Ruffy versus James Llontop. I'm going to be honest, I really don't even want to talk about the fight that much. I want to talk about the fact the commentary team was sucking off Mauricio Ruffy like it was going out of style. I mean, Joe Rogan was sucking him so hard, glazing him so hard. And he looked good in the first round, don't get me wrong, but it was competitive. He was landing good hard shots. There was a straight right that stumbled Llontop in the first round. Then he looked for a tornado kick that didn't land. Llontop was tough and durable throughout this fight. Second round, he dropped him with a left hook, tried to finish him with hammer fist. Llontop was able to survive and get up and start landing his own. Ruffy looked tired in the second round, at the end of the second round. And Llontop was still just marching forward, eating shots, landing body shots. Third round, Ruffy was completely tired. He wasn't throwing nowhere near as much as he was throwing. And Llontop was walking him down and landing. I scored the third round for Llontop. So Ruffy wins 29-28. I think that was all three judges' scorecards. Rogan was, comparing him to Conor McGregor. I can't get... and I know people are going to be like, oh, well, Llontop missed weight. He missed weight by 1 pound for a catch weight, but the fight was thrown together on short notice, so it's really not Llontop's fault. Even though he did accept the fight, I get it. Ruffy looked good, but against Llontop, I don't know, man. Maybe if Llontop actually had a cut weight, maybe he gets put out. He looked like a kind of a shittier version of maybe like a prime, not even a prime, like an out of prime Kelvin Gastelum. Same body type and all. You can even see it in this picture right here. This looks like Kelvin Gastelum's body right here. At welterweight, though. But Ruffy got it done. Ruffy got it done. He beats James Llontop. Striking looked really clean. Movement looked really clean. Cardio looked questionable, though. Cardio looked very questionable. And Llontop went after the body. So I think that was also a contributing factor. But Ruffy gets it done via unanimous decision. Next fight on the card. Viviane Araújo versus Karine Silva. Does anyone even want to hear me talk about this fight? Viviane Araújo wins. Well, what's more there to say? Karine Silva won the first round. Landed the better shots. Was kind of chasing her down. Started to get tired in the second. Landed some decent shots in the second. They ended up on the ground. And then Karine Silva was in a good position. Looked for like a Darce choke. Ended up on bottom. And then ate like 10 elbows to end the round. They weren't crazy impactful. But in a close round, that's going to lose you the round. And then the third round, Karine Silva was so exhausted. Araújo was catching kicks, taking her down, and then just hovering over top of her, breathing on her. I hated this fight. And I hated where it was placed on the card. And I hate Viviane Araújo and Karine Silva for their performances. It wasn't the worst fight ever. I just think the placement on the card just really drove me nuts. But Araújo gets it done via unanimous decision. Next fight on the card. Here we go. Now business is starting to pick up. Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. Bo Nickal should be ashamed of himself. And I've been saying this for a while, and this doesn't come from a place of hate. This doesn't come from a place of emotion. I'm not emotionally attached to 99% of the roster. Bo Nickal is an industry plant. He will never be an elite level middleweight. Never. Ever. This was a fight against Paul Craig that should have been a super easy winnable matchup. Paul Craig won the first round in my opinion. He won the first round in my opinion. I don't care what anyone says. I think Paul Craig won the first round. It was razor close. It was boring. They were both landing leg kicks. Craig was landing some good body kicks. I thought he landed better shots, although he won the first round. Second round was close as well. Bo just landed the better shots, was chopping the legs, landed a step-in elbow as well. Or no, Craig actually landed a step-in elbow, I think it was, now that I think about it. But I thought Bo Nickal won the second round. Third round, Bo hurt him but didn't follow up. Hurt him, literally tagged him. Craig backed up, was like holding his eye. Nickal did not follow up at all, just stood there staring at him for a minute. And then late hurt him as well. Literally, the crowd was booing Bo Nickal out of the arena. They even started chanting, overrated. And look, for me, Bo Nickal's not overrated because I think he's a literal scrub. He's a teacher's pet. He's a spoiled little bitch. He will never, ever, mark it down, be a champion in the UFC. He's an upgraded version of CM Punk. Oh, he competed at NCAA. Oh my God, let's put him in the UFC. He's like 30 years old. He's like 29 almost. I think he's 29 in January. I looked it up earlier. He's a scrub. I don't care. What is he going to fight bums for 3 more years until he's in his mid-30s? He's not competing with the top guys. Khamzat, I don't ever want to hear Bo Nickel mention Khamzat's name again. Khamzat would literally do unspeakable things to Bo. He could do whatever he wanted to Bo. If they were in prison, if Khamzat Chimaev and Bo Nickel were in prison, Bo Nickel would be his little ginger bitch. I don't ever want to hear him talking about Khamzat's wrestling. I don't want to hear him talking about Khamzat striking. I don't want to hear him talking about fighting Khamzat Chimaev. He needs to just shut his mouth because he's a bum. He's literally a bum. Paul Craig has the worst hands in the UFC. He barely landed on him. Paul Craig should be embarrassed as well. He should have known he was losing and he was barely fighting. He landed body shots the whole fight, and that's it. Never tried to pull guard. Bo Nickel never shot a takedown. The commentary team was sucking Bo Nickel off so much. Oh, he feels really comfortable in front of Paul Craig. Paul Craig literally, hands are terrible. Who wouldn't feel comfortable in front of Paul Craig? I mean, what a joke. What a joke. Look, Bo Nickel get exposed badly. He's already been exposed badly, in my opinion. Eventually, he'll go down to welterweight. He'll fail there as well. And then eventually, be like, oh, we tried. Bo Nickel was successful for years and blah. This is an industry plant at its finest. He's not good. He's not good. Keep him off the main card. Garbage performance. Embarrassing that you're going to a close decision. And then this gave me Paddy Pimblett vibes, except minus the robbery. Then he says, I put on an amazing performance. I dominated him for 15 minutes. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Reminded me of Paddy Pimblett after Jarrett Gordon. I can't even talk about this anymore. Bo Nickel, spoiled brat, teacher's pet, Dana's lapdog, embarrassing performance against Paul Craig. And Dana was sucking him off afterwards, I'm sure. Next fight on the card, co-main event. How do I break? This fight deserves its own dedicated video, and I was going to do it tonight. It is right now almost 4:45 a.m. I'll probably do a dedicated breakdown on it tomorrow with video evidence. Michael Chandler loses a decision. This dude is the biggest cheater I've ever seen in my entire life. He deserves no credit for this win. He is absolutely and utterly pathetic. This guy right here is a pathetic human being. And you know how funny it was? I'm done. I'm not, I know people say, oh, you don't like Michael Chandler, this and that. Honestly, I always liked Michael Chandler. Prior to this last year and a half, I liked Michael Chandler. I hate this motherfucker now. This dude cheated so much in this fight, I could not believe it. And he got dominated outside the 5th round. And the 5th round, you subtract all the cheating, he loses the 5th round as well. This dude's going on the mic afterwards. Conor McGregor. Give him a blowjob already, Mike. Muscle Milk Mike. Suck him off already, Chandler. This dude's a cheater. This dude's an embarrassment. This dude's abandoning his family, begging for a Conor fight for 2 fucking years, only to show up and cheat against Charles Oliveira. Everyone should hate his guts after this fight. First fight, our first round, eye pokes. Eye pokes and fence grabs, okay? Oliveira was beating him up on the feet. Chandler landed a couple jabs. Oliveira got a takedown. There was nasty fence grabs by Chandler on the way down. He reached over the top of the cage. Then when he's on the ground, he's grabbing the fence and trying to manipulate his body. There was a weird leg entanglement where Oliveira was kind of sitting on top of him. And also, when he ended up more on top of him, Chandler threw a couple back of the head shots in the first round. Second round, Oliveira dominated him in the second round, hurt him a couple times. There was a couple times where he was tripping around. There was a big knee landed by Oliveira. Oliveira got a takedown, got full mount, landed some elbows, including 12-6 elbows. There was a nasty, brutal fence grab by Chandler in the second round. I'm being dead serious. There might have been upwards of 60 blatant fouls by Chandler. I would say, just to be conservative, at least 20 to 30 blatant fouls by Chandler. So second round, he probably cheated too. He definitely cheated. There was a fence grab in round 2 as well. I think that's the one where he's holding onto the fence for 30 seconds to damn near avoid a takedown. Third round, I think that was the third round. Third round, he gets taken down. He's getting beat up on the feet. Oliveira's walking him down, takes him down. I think this is where the brutal fence grab was. Oliveira takes his back. Chandler's grabbing in the gloves. Oliveira's complaining. I think there's some back of the head shots as well in the third round. There was an uppercut that rocked Chandler in the third round when they were on the feet. But basically, Oliveira just dominating through 1 through 4. Fourth round, tagging him, took him down, took his back. Fifth round, Oliveira landed a nasty oblique kick, but Oliveira's starting to get tired. Starting to get a little bit more sloppy. Chandler knows he's down 4 rounds. Lands a big right hand and hurts Oliveira. Overextends, ends up falling down. Oliveira almost takes his back. But they end up in a weird scramble. And Oliveira's kind of in on a takedown, and Chandler's kind of weirdly sprawled against the fence. It's hard to describe. But basically, the back of the head of Oliveira is right there to be had. Chandler probably throws 30 vicious back of the head shots. And Keith Peterson's thinking about stopping it as a TKO. And Oliveira, I mean, they're all back of the head. DC's like, back of the head. These are all back of the head. I mean, all the replay was clear. I mean, they were right on the, literally couldn't have been any more dead center. If this would have been stopped via TKO in the 5th round for Chandler, this would have needed to be overturned to a DQ. I mean, this was the most egregious back of the head shots I have seen ever. And this guy's a known cheater. Chandler was cheating in the Dustin Poirier fight. I have an entire video on my channel about it. I mean, if you guys, let me know if you guys want it. And I'm probably going to do it, but do you guys want a full Oliveira Chandler breakdown of the entire fight more in depth, but also of all the fouls that Chandler committed? Because I can't even remember. I mean, there was probably 7 fence grabs. There was probably 30 back of the head shots, because he was even throwing back of the head shots in previous rounds, not as egregious when he was rocked. There was glove grabs that Charles was complaining about. But Charles Oliveira survives. He ends up getting back to his feet. I mean, at one point, Oliveira ended up in full guard, throwing down some actual legal ground and pound, but Oliveira's able to survive. Oliveira eventually gets back to his feet, ends up clinching up with him, taking his back, and takes him down. And then Chandler stands up, walks to the center of the cage, and jumps up and throws, does that little, throwing his back. I don't even know what you want to call it. Earlier he was doing those illegal back shots dead. But then he's like jumping in the center of the cage and like landing all his weight on Oliveira. And then stands up again, does it again. The crowd's going wild. Oh my God, this meathead, he's so dumb. Look what he's doing. No technique at all in the fight that he's losing and getting dominated in. He can't get out of this position. I'm going to be honest. I'd be okay with Chandler getting cut. I poked at one point. I think it was in the first round. That was the first foul. I poked him and then went after him afterwards. Oliveira started like wiping his eye. I think it was his left eye. Or it might be his right eye. I don't remember. Either way, it doesn't matter. Chandler goes after him full force. Embarrassing display by Chandler. Cheating display by Chandler. Pathetic call out at the end. Conor McGregor, get your candy ass back in here because I got a sweet tooth. He didn't say that, but that's what he's thinking. I think this dude, if Conor told him, look, Mike, Muscle Milk Mike, I'll finally fight you. Contract's right here. I promise with all my net worth to show up. But there's one thing I'm going to need you to do. And he tells Chandler, get down on all fours. And he unzips his pants. And he says, you have your way. You have your way right now. I think Chandler would do it. I'm dead serious. This is how pathetic Chandler is and mentally broken. In between rounds, he's like, oh, what combinations do I throw? I mean, the only combination you ever throw is an overhand right. And you just crouch down and throw a right hand. It's the only thing you throw anyway, Chandler. It was a crazy 5th round, but I mean, it wouldn't have been that crazy if he wasn't throwing back of the headshots because none of that would even land it. And Oliveira would have been fine. The big right hands are the only thing that landed. Without the back of the headshots, Oliveira wins round 5. So Chandler gets dominated, then gets on the mic afterwards and calls out McGregor. Totally pathetic display from Chandler. Cheater. Allegedly cheated on his wife. I broke that down in a recent interview. It seemed like that's what he was saying. Abandons his kids for training camps for mythical fights at mythical weight classes. And then he goes in and cheats against Charles Oliveira. Disgusting human being. Prances around, claiming to be religious, and he cheats nonstop in every fight. I'm tired of it. Cut this guy. I don't care if he's exciting. It's a piece of shit. Yeah, we all know I made the right decision. Yeah, right. That's what he told me. Anyway, let's move off to co-main event and Chandler's pathetic ass. I'll do a whole breakdown on tomorrow if you guys want to see that. Next fight on the card, main event. Johnny Bones Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Now, listen, I've already done a full dedicated breakdown. It's about 20 minutes long. It's on the channel. I will link it down in the description as well as the end cards. Jon Jones wins via 3rd round TKO, spinning back kick to the body, melts Stipe Miocic, follows up with a couple ground and pound shots. It's over. Jon Jones dominated this fight. First round was landing good shots on the feet, stepped behind him and just ragged out into the ground, then got on top of him and started bashing his brains in with elbows. End of the round, I thought he was going to get a finish. Second round, Jones never tries to grapple, was just kind of landing on the feet, lands a couple good body shots, a teep kick that hurts Stipe, doesn't follow up, a nasty knee to the body in the clinch. Stipe had a couple moments where he would rush forward and Jones would kind of turn away and he would look open for some shots from Stipe. But Jones really didn't get touched too much in the second round. Then the third round, Stipe had a couple moments where he would land glancing shots, but Jones tagged him with like a jab and then a right hand. Jones was landing good kicks throughout the fight, good jabs throughout the fight. Third round, lands a jab and then a right hand that hurts Stipe. Kind of goes after him a little bit, but kind of lays off, lets him recover a little bit. And then last minute of the third round, Jon Jones throws a spinning back kick right to the ribs of Stipe, melts him, follows him to the ground, and swarms him and finishes him. I understand people are saying, oh, Stipe's old, this and that. Stipe's a question mark. We don't know how good Stipe is anymore. He sat out for too long. 42 isn't that old for heavyweight. Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time. There's no doubt about that. Most title defenses in heavyweight history. That being said, I don't care what version of Stipe showed up. Jon Jones would wreck him. Would wreck him badly. And so it really doesn't matter to me. If you want to say, oh, you know, Stipe's old and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Jones went to the third round. I've seen people saying, Jones went to the third round. Some guy commented on my full breakdown. Said, I'm unsubbing, Joey. You can't believe that you're saying this. Good riddance. Good riddance. It doesn't matter what version of Stipe showed up. He looked to be in great shape. Jones destroys him. Heavyweight's garbage anyway. Everyone looks kind of sluggish on the feet. There's nobody that looks lightning fast on the feet outside of the first minute of every round. Or the first round, sorry. Jones destroyed him. Jones is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world now that he's actually active. I would not pick anyone else to beat him. I hope that the Aspinall fight happens. Jones is kind of playing negotiation games with the UFC. He's kind of going in the cage. He's saying, I've decided that I'm not going to retire. Maybe we'll give the fans what we want, but I got to sit down with Uncle Dana and Uncle Hunter. Will it happen? I don't know. If it does, I'm picking Jon Jones. I think he's better everywhere. Tom's got to catch him in the first round. That's it. Jones has took very little damage throughout his entire career. He's been fighting for how long now? 14 years, 15 years in the UFC? Barely ever gets tagged clean. The only time I ever remember him really getting tagged clean was like a really hard shot by Lyoto in their fight. I mean, Gustafsson, okay, maybe a few. DC in the clinch, but Jones has never really took a hard shot and got rocked, ever. Tom Aspinall has a puncher's chance. I hope that that's the fight that comes to fruition. I think Jones wins, though. That'll be a huge fight, though. That's why I hope it happens. Jones will have the opportunity to show up the haters. I think a lot of people are too emotionally invested in Jon Jones. I don't like Jon Jones personally. I don't know him personally. I'm not friends with him. I know that he's the best fighter in the UFC right now. Period. I don't think anyone's beating him. That has nothing to do with emotional, attachment. That has nothing to do with fandom. I think he is the best fighter. And there's always going to be the next guy. And I pray that we get to see the Aspinall fight. It's going to be very, very interesting in that first round because Aspinall's super dangerous early. But we're talking about a guy who's on a 3-fight win streak, Marcin Tybura, Sergey Pavlovich, and Curtis Blades. None of those guys, combine all three of those guys together, they're not even close to the skill level of Johnny Bones Jones. Good everywhere, good kicks, hands are improving, dynamic attacks. And say what you will about Jones' striking in this fight. Maybe it looked a little sluggish or whatever. That's heavyweight for you. That's what's going to happen when you put on 40 pounds. And also, Jones' striking, especially his boxing, has always looked kind of weird and off, but it works for him. It's unique to him. He spams oblique kicks. He spams leg kicks. He has lightning fast head kicks. Ask DC. He even partially landed like 1 or 2 against Stipe in this fight as well. Good elbows on the ground. I mean, nastiest ground and pound probably in the UFC. He went out there, retired Stipe Miocic. Stipe said he was retiring afterwards. We'll never see or hear from him again. Maybe they'll get him on the commentary booth. I would love to hear Stipe's commentary. But that's it. Jon Jones wins. Hopefully we get the Aspinall fight next. I know Jones is angling for the Pereira fight a little bit. He thinks that's a bigger money fight. I don't know that it is. I feel like there's a lot of hype behind Aspinall right now. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. That remains to be seen. But yeah, Jon Jones gets it done. Third round TKO. Beautiful spinning back kick. And also, I felt like Jon kind of carried Stipe a little bit. I felt like this was like a tune-up fight, a warm-up fight in preparation for his next fight. He was disappointed the Gall fight was so short, dominated Gall, a little over 2 minutes. It felt like the couple times, like when he hurt him with the teep kick in the second round, didn't attack. When he hurt him with the right hand, didn't really attack. Jon Jones has always had excellent killer instinct. I think he was just trying to get reps in this fight against Stipe Miocic. Once especially he knew he had it in the bag after the first round. Never really tried to grapple after that, even though he almost got him out of there. So, Jon Jones, pound for pound best fighter in the world. Undoubtedly the GOAT of the UFC. And he ends Stipe Miocic. It's the end of an era, man. Stipe has been around forever. I've watched Stipe since his UFC debut. He's gone, man. He's gonna be answering phones at the fire department from here on out, saving cats out of trees. Jon Jones gets it done. Not entirely unexpected. This is exactly what I expected. This is what I would expect him to do to Tom Aspinall as well. This is what I expected him to do to Gall, but actually quicker. And that's what he did. Great win. Good to see Jon Jones back and being active again. The only thing I needed to see is that Jones wasn't washed anymore. And that's what I saw, and that's all I need to know. It doesn't matter the opponent. Whether it's me, Stipe, Tom Aspinall, or Marcin Tybura. All I needed to see was that Jones has still got it, and the age and the time off and the injury didn't get to him. That's all I need to see it to crown him as the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. He's got a dark side to him. Those German Shepherds finally paid off. So, Jones gets it done, 3rd round TKO. Let me know what you guys thought of the card down in the comments. I would really appreciate it. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.